The rain-slicked streets of San Francisco gleamed like shattered glass under the sodium lamps, and Aiden Harper stood frozen in the doorway of their Haight-Ashbury brownstone, the echo of Jackson's laughter slicing through him sharper than any knife. He's just a granny sitter, man, useless without his little old lady duties. Jackson had slurred to his buddy over the phone, voice thick with bourbon and disdain, not realizing Aiden could hear every word from the kitchen where he'd been scrubbing pots like some invisible ghost. In that moment, as thunder cracked overhead like the universe itself breaking its promise, Aiden's world didn't just crack. It imploded, 20 years of love reduced to ash in the downpour. Aiden's hands trembled as he gripped the doorframe, the chill seeping through his thin flannel shirt, but it was nothing compared to the ice blooming in his chest. He'd always known Jackson's family whispered about him. The kept boy, who traded ambition for devotion, the one who stayed home while Jackson climbed the corporate ladder at that flashy tech firm in the Mission District. But hearing it from Jackson's lips, that was the betrayal that burned. Aiden slammed the door shut behind him, the bang reverberating like a gunshot, and stumbled into the living room where their wedding photo mocked him from the mantel. Two grinning fools in tuxes, arms wrapped tight under a rainbow flag at City Hall, back when vows meant forever. He collapsed onto the worn leather couch they'd splurged on during their first flush of marriage, the one that still smelled faintly of Jackson's cologne, cedar and ambition. Aiden's mind raced back, unbidden, to the day it all started shifting. It was 5 years ago, when Jackson's grandmother, Nana Rose, had moved in after her stroke. 87, sharp as a tack but frail as rice paper, she'd needed round-the-clock care, and Jackson, ever the golden boy, had begged Aiden to step up. "You're the heart of this home, babe," he'd said, kissing Aiden's temple with that boyish grin that still made his knees weak. "I'll handle the breadwinning. You keep us whole." Aiden had quit his graphic design gig at the boutique agency in Soma, nothing earth-shattering, but it paid the bills and let him chase his dream of illustrating children's books about queer kids finding their place. For Nana Rose, though, he'd do anything. She was the one who'd welcomed him into the family when Jackson's uptight parents had frozen him out, calling their union a phase. So Aiden became the granny sitter, trading freelance sketches for sponge baths and bedtime stories from her endless reservoir of Depression-era tales. Nights blurred into a rhythm, meds at 8, tea at 9, and Jackson stumbling in at midnight, askew, eyes distant from boardroom battles. Aiden would wait up, massaging the knots from Jackson's shoulders, whispering encouragements about closing that next deal. "You're unstoppable," he'd say, and Jackson would pull him close, murmuring, "Couldn't do it without you." Lies, Aiden thought now, bitter as the herbal tea Nana Rose swore by. The resentment had crept in slow, like fog off the bay, Jackson's late nights turning into all-nighters, his touches growing perfunctory, excuses piling up like unopened mail. Aiden buried it under duty, sketching in stolen moments while Nana Rose napped, dreaming of a book that captured the ache of loving in silence. But tonight, the fog had lifted, revealing the rot beneath. Aiden's phone buzzed on the coffee table, a text from his best friend, Mia, the tattooed barista from the Castro coffee shop where he'd hide out for me time that was really just escape. Heard from Jax's coworker. "Party at the Stud? You in?" The Stud, San Francisco's legendary queer dive, pulsing with drag queens and house beats, where Aiden and Jackson had shared their first sloppy kiss 15 years ago, young and broke and invincible. Aiden stared at the screen, thumb hovering, then typed back, "Fuck it." Yeah. He needed noise, Bodies. Anything to drown the echo of useless. The club was a fever dream of strobe lights and sweat-slick skin, bass thumping like a second heartbeat. Aiden nursed a gin and tonic at the bar, the lime's bite mirroring the twist in his gut. Mia found him there, her neon-pink hair a beacon, and pulled him into a hug that smelled of patchouli and pity. "You look like hell, babe." "Spill." He did, words tumbling out in a rush, the phone call, the laughter, the way Jackson's voice had dripped with contempt. Mia's eyes narrowed, her lip ring glinting as she leaned in. "That fucker's been pulling away for months." "You think it's just the job?" Aiden waved it off, but doubt gnawed deeper. By the third drink, he was on the dance floor, letting strangers' hands brush his waist, chasing a spark that felt like rebellion. It was reckless, alive, the kind of freedom he'd forgotten tasted like. Dawn crept in gray and unforgiving, Aiden slipping back into the brownstone like a thief in his own life. Nana Rose was still asleep, her breathing a soft rattle through the baby monitor on the nightstand. He tiptoed to the bedroom, heart hammering, and there was Jackson, sprawled naked across the sheets, phone clutched in his fist like a guilty secret. Aiden's stomach lurched. He could smell it now, the faint musk of unfamiliar cologne clinging to the air. He grabbed Jackson's phone before his brain could catch up, thumbprint unlocking it with the casual trust they'd built over years. The messages hit like punches. "Missed you last night. When's your husband out of the picture?" From a number saved as Jim Bro, Ethan, the ripped personal trainer from Jackson's CrossFit obsession. All abs and easy grins. Aiden's vision blurred, hot tears spilling as he scrolled. Nights at the gym that weren't. Hotel receipts from the financial district. A selfie of the two of them tangled in silk sheets. Jackson's wedding band glinting mockingly. "You bastard," he whispered, voice cracking. Jackson stirred, bleary eyes widening in horror. "Aiden? What the? Give me that." He lunged, but Aiden was already backing away. Phone clutched like a grenade. "Granny sitter. Huh? Useless? That's what I am to you now." Jackson's face crumpled, color draining. "Babe. It's nothing. Stress. The job. I love you." But the words landed hollow, echoes in an empty cathedral. They fought like animals that morning, whispers hissing to not wake Nana Rose, accusations flying like shrapnel. Jackson begged, on his knees by the bed, promising therapy, promising change. "You're my rock, Aiden. I was lost, but you're everything." Aiden wanted to believe it. God, he did, the man who'd held him through coming out, through the AIDS memorial marches in the 90s when they were just kids finding their way. But the betrayal festered, a poison seeping into every memory. By noon, Jackson was gone, suitcases yanked from the closet, door slamming like finality. Aiden sank to the floor, sobs racking him, until Nana Rose's bell tinkled from down the hall, duty calling, even as his heart bled out. The days stretched into a numb haze. Aiden moved through routines on autopilot. Breakfast for Nana Rose, oatmeal with raisins, just how she liked. Meds, stories of her youth in the Fillmore jazz clubs before the war scattered everyone. She sensed it, of course, her hawk eyes missing nothing. That boy's trouble. Sugar, she'd rasp, patting his hand with veins like twisted roots. But you're the keeper of flames. Don't let him snuff yours. Aiden would smile tightly, sketching in the margins of her crossword puzzles, whimsical boys with rainbows for capes. chasing dreams across city skylines. It was his therapy, these hidden pages, a rebellion against the label Jackson had slapped on him. Mia dragged him out weekly to poetry slams in the Mission, where queer voices roared against the dying light, or hikes up Twin Peaks where the city sprawled like a lover's promise. "You're more than his shadow," she'd say, passing a joint as the sun dipped into the Pacific. Aiden nodded, but nights were war zones. Dreams of Jackson's touch turning to thorns, waking sweat-soaked and aching for what was. One evening, thumbing through old emails, he found the thread from 5 years back, when he'd quit his job. Buried attachments, his portfolio, glowing reviews from clients, an offer from a big publisher for his first book concept. Queer Hearts in the City, stories of young love navigating San Francisco's grit and glitter. He'd shelved it for Nana Rose, for Jackson's pleas. Useless? No. Sacrificial. And now, with the house echoing empty, that sacrifice felt like chains. It was Mia who pushed him to dig deeper. "What if you finish it? For you?" Aiden resisted at first, too raw, too exposing. But one rainy afternoon, as Nana Rose dozed to the patter on the windows, he pulled out the dusty sketchpad. Lines flowed like confession. Aiden as a wide-eyed artist, Jackson as the charming exec, their love a vibrant mural cracked by infidelity. Pages multiplied, words weaving through illustrations, dialogue sharp as broken glass, emotions raw as open wounds. He poured it all in, the hook of their first date at the Pride Parade, the quiet domesticity of shared grocery runs to the ferry building, the slow poison of resentment, and the betrayal framed not as victimhood, but as a catalyst, a shattering that revealed hidden strengths. Words spread in whispers through their circle. Mia shared snippets at her coffee shop readings, and soon, emails trickled in queer writers from the Bay Area Literary Collective, invitations to open mics. Aiden's first reading was at a cozy bookstore in No Valley, heart pounding under the exposed brick walls. He stood at the podium, voice steady despite the tremor in his hands, reading the chapter where the protagonist confronts his husband's lover, not with fists, but with truth. "You think you stole him? You just woke him up to what he lost." The room hung on his words, applause thundering like the storm that night he'd walked out. In the crowd, a face caught his eye, tall, with kind hazel eyes and a shy smile, nursing a chamomile tea. "That was beautiful," the man said after, extending a hand. "I'm Riley. Illustrator too. Your lines. They breathe." Riley was a breath of fresh air, soft-spoken, with freckles like stars across his nose, working freelance for indie comics in Oakland. No corporate shine, just quiet passion. They talked for hours that night, spilling onto the sidewalk under string lights, sharing stories of loves lost to the city's relentless churn. "I get it," Riley said, when Aiden confessed the granny sitter scar. "I cared for my dad through cancer. People called me the family martyr. But it's not martyrdom. It's love, fierce and unyielding." Aiden felt seen, not pitted, a spark igniting in the ashes. As weeks turned to months, Aiden's book took shape. Nana rose cheering from her armchair with edits scrawled in shaky cursive. More heart, less hate. Boy, her stories wove in two. Tales of forbidden jazz flings in smoky basements, loves that defied the era's cruelties. It became their joint opus, a testament to endurance. Jackson's calls grew sporadic, apologies laced with desperation, Tales of therapy and regret. I was blind. Aiden. Come back. We can fix this. But Aiden, sketching Riley's profile in stolen moments, felt the pull of something new. Not replacement, but reclamation. The high point crashed in like a rogue wave. Nana Rose took a turn, pneumonia gripping her lungs like an old enemy. The hospital room in UCSF Medical Center smelled of antiseptic and faded hopes, machines beeping a dirge. Aiden sat vigil, Riley at his side, hand warm on his knee. Jackson arrived late, disheveled in a rumpled suit, eyes red-rimmed. I should have been here, he choked, collapsing into a chair. Nana Rose, lucid in her haze, beckoned them close. Fools, both of you, she wheezed, voice a thread. Love ain't a ledger, Jackson. It's the quiet ones who tally the debts. Her gaze shifted to Aiden. And you, my flamekeeper, don't dim for anyone. Promise me. Aiden nodded, tears carving paths down his cheeks. As she slipped away at dawn, the city awakening indifferent below. The funeral was a blur of black umbrellas and eulogies in the Presidio Chapel, rainbow flags fluttering defiant in the wind. Jackson clung to Aiden after, whispering, "We need each other now." But Aiden pulled back gently, Riley waiting discreetly by the oak trees. We needed each other once. But I'm not your anchor anymore, Jax. I'm my own ship. Jackson's face fractured, pain, understanding dawning like a bruise. I get it. I ruined us. But your book. I saw the proofs at the publisher's party. It's brilliant. You were always the talent. The admission hung. A bridge burned but truths laid bare. Jackson turned away, shoulders slumped, vanishing into the fog-shrouded hills. In the aftermath, Aiden's book launched to quiet acclaim, a San Francisco Chronicle review calling it a poignant queer odyssey of betrayal and rebirth. Signings at Bound Together Books drew lines of young men with stories mirroring his own. Hugs exchanged like lifelines. Riley became more dinners at hole-in-the-wall Takarius in the Mission, lazy Sundays sketching in Golden Gate Park, kisses under the cherry blossoms that tasted like second chances. It wasn't fireworks, but embers steady, warming the corners Jackson's storm had chilled. One crisp autumn evening, Aiden stood on that same pier from the night everything broke. Riley's arm around his waist, the bridge a silhouette against the sunset. The waves whispered secrets, and Aiden felt it, not whole, but healing. The granny sitter label, a scar, faded to silver. The truth had crashed down. Yes, but in the rubble, he'd built something unbreakable. Love, after all, wasn't about perfection. It was about rising, rainbow-hued and resilient, from the depths. Aiden's rebirth wasn't linear. It zigzagged through the city's veins like the cable cars clanging up Powell Street, jerky, nostalgic, full of unexpected stops. Mornings now started with coffee brewed strong, black as the doubts that still lingered, sipped on the fire escape overlooking the Victorian row houses painted in pastel rebellion. Nana Rose's absence echoed loudest there, her rocker empty by the window where she'd knit afghans in seafoam green, muttering about kids these days and their apps. Aiden had donated most of her things to the LGBT Historical Society downtown, but kept the afghan draped over the couch, a tactile ghost, soft against his skin during late-night revisions. The book, Shadows on the Rainbow, hit shelves in early spring, its cover a watercolor of fog-kissed spires and intertwined hands, one pale, one shadowed. Launch night at the Castro Theater was electric. Marquee lights spelling his name in cursive glow. The air thick with popcorn and possibility. Mia emceed, her voice booming through the mic. Aiden Harper isn't just a storyteller. He's the voice for every queer heart that's ever been called less than. The crowd, drag kings in fedoras, leather daddies with canes, wide-eyed twinks clutching copies, erupted as Aiden took the stage. Riley in the front row, thumbs up glinting under the spotlights. Reading aloud felt like exorcism. The scene where the protagonist, a veiled stand-in for Aiden named Ellis, overhears the betrayal at a rooftop gala overlooking the bay. Useless, the husband sneers to a colleague, cocktail glass sweating in his grip, while below, fairies cut wakes like veins pulsing with unspoken grief. Aiden's voice cracked on the line. In that instant, Ellis didn't shatter. He splintered into 1,000 prisms, refracting light where darkness had pooled. And the theater hushed, breaths collective. Q&A turned confessional. A burly bear in the back row shared his own infidelity scar. A non-binary artist asked about weaving family legacy into fiction. Riley's question, soft-spoken, "How do you forgive yourself for staying too long?" Aiden paused, meeting those hazel eyes. "You don't. You honor the stay by sailing on." Post-launch buzz hummed through podcasts and Instagram reels. Queer influencers in LA and NYC tagging Granny Sitter No More. A hashtag Mia coined over tequila shots, turning poison into punchline. Publishers called for sequels, but Aiden demurred. This story was finite, a chapter closed. Instead, he taught workshops at the Center for Sex and Culture in the south of Market, guiding aspiring writers through prompts like Betrayal as Catalyst with Riley co-facilitating. Their synergy a quiet duet. Riley's precise line work complementing Aiden's emotional sprawl. Jackson's shadow lengthened with summer's solstice. A care package arrived unannounced. Nana Rose's recipe box, tied with twine. Note tucked inside in his looping script. These were hers. Like you were to us. I'm sorry doesn't cut it, but it's all I have left. Aiden traced the words. Thumb smudging ink. Memories flooding. Lazy Sundays in the kitchen. Jackson attempting pie crusts that crumbled like their defenses. Nana Rose cackling from her stool. He baked that night apple, lattice-topped, filling the brownstone with cinnamon warmth. Riley arrived with ice cream, eyebrows raised at the spread. Exorcising ghosts? Aiden shrugged, slicing a piece. Or feeding them. They ate on the floor, backs against cabinets. Riley's head on his shoulder. The sweetness bittersweet. Intimacy with Riley unfolded slow, like fog burning off the bay. Tentative touches evolving to tangled sheets. Bodies mapping new territories. No grand gestures, just Riley's fingers tracing Aiden's collarbone at dawn. Murmuring, "You're a masterpiece. You know that." Aiden, who'd once craved Jackson's fire, found solace in this steady glow. Yet doubts whispered. Was it rebound? Pity? One night, after a gallery opening in Hayes Valley where Riley's comic panels hung beside Aiden's illustrations, a collaborative exhibit on queer resilience, Aiden confessed over late-night foe. "I keep waiting for the other shoe. Like you'll see the Granny Sitter and bolt." Riley set down his chopsticks. Eyes fierce. "I see the man who held a family together with sheer will. The artist who turns pain into beauty. That's not a shoe drop. That's a crown." Summer waned in heat waves that turned the city into a steam bath, and conflict brewed unexpected. A journalist from Out magazine reached out for a profile, hungry for the real-life drama behind the book. Aiden agreed reluctantly, Meeting at a sunny cafe in the marina, her notebook a minefield. The betrayal. How public do you want to go? She probed. Pen poised. Aiden hesitated. Jackson had slunk back to Sacramento for a reset, consulting gig at a startup, but ripples touched everyone. Keep it vague, he said. It's not about naming names. It's about the universal gut punch. But the piece dropped rawer than expected. Quotes from anonymous sources painting Jackson as the villain. Aiden the sainted survivor. Backlash hit like a tweet storm. Jackson's DMs flooded Aiden's inbox. Furious voicemails left at odd hours. You profited off my fuck-up. Classy. Aiden's hand shook deleting them, Riley rubbing his back. Block him. This is your story now. The fallout peaked at Labor Day weekend. A queer-lit fest in Golden Gate Park. Aiden was slated for a panel on love after infidelity. Irony thick as the barbecue smoke from nearby grills. Jackson showed. Uninvited. Nursing a beer by the stage. Eyes locked on Aiden like a hawk. Heart slamming. Aiden gripped the mic. Voice steady. Betrayal doesn't end love. It redefines it. You learn to love yourself first. Fiercely. Whispers rippled. Jackson stood, weaving through picnickers. Confrontation inevitable. Backstage. Under the eucalyptus shade. He cornered Aiden. You happy now? Parading my shame. Riley stepped forward, but Aiden waved him off. Your shame. Jax. I carried enough. Jackson deflated. Voice small. I read the book. Twice. You deserved better. Always did. He left with a nod to Riley. Take care of him. The ghost finally exorcised. Autumn leaves turned the park to fire, mirroring Aiden's inner thaw. He and Riley adopted a rescue mutt from the SFSPCA, a scruffy terrier mix named Scout, all wagging tail and boundless energy. Walks along Ocean Beach became ritual, waves crashing as Scout chased gulls, Riley's laughter mingling with salt spray. Aiden sketched them there. Riley mid-throw, hair windswept, Scout a blur of joy. The images fed a new project, a graphic novel on found families. Nana Rose's spirit woven in as a wisecracking specter. Thanksgiving loomed, first without her. Mia hosted, potluck style in her Bernal Heights flat, turkey from the queer co-op, stuffing spiked with stories. Toasts circled to losses, to loves reborn. Aiden raised his glass to Nana Rose, voice thick. To the granny sitters who sit not in shadow, but at the heart's hearth. Laughter, then silence as Riley squeezed his hand under the table. Later, curled on Mia's couch amid board games and queer carols, Aiden felt it belonging, untainted. Winter crept in with chill winds off the bay. Holiday lights twinkling defiant in the Castro's shop windows. Aiden's book hit bestseller lists for indie presses. Fan mail arriving like Valentine's. Your words saved me from my own useless label. He replied to each, a quiet ministry. Jackson's last contact was a Christmas card, simple, a Bay Bridge silhouette. Wishing you light. J. Aiden pinned it to the fridge, beside Riley's doodle of them as superheroes. Forgiveness wasn't absolution. It was release. New Year's Eve found them on Twin Peaks. City sprawl a diamond necklace below. Fireworks bloomed, Riley pulling Aiden close. To truths crashing down and building up, Aiden kissed him, slow and sure, the year turning on a promise of more. The new year dawned crisp. San Francisco shaking off holiday haze like a dog after a bath, vibrant, unapologetic. Aiden's routine solidified. Mornings with Scout's eager paws on the hardwood, coffee steaming as he reviewed workshop lesson plans at the scarred oak table Nana Rose had favored. Riley commuted from Oakland 3 days a week, their brownstone evolving into shared space. His comics stacked beside Aiden's sketchpads, a second toothbrush claiming the porcelain. It was domesticity without the weight, love light as sea glass smoothed by tides. But scars itched under the surface. February brought Valentine's, a minefield of red hearts and forced romance. Aiden dodged the commercial blitz, planning instead a low-key escape to Point Reyes, hikes through coastal bluffs, clam chowder at the funky Drake's Bay Oyster Shack. Riley packed the cooler, sneaking in a playlist of indie queer anthems, perfume genius crooning about tender vulnerabilities. The drive north wound through dairy farms and eucalyptus groves, radio humming as Aiden confessed a fresh haunt. Jackson texted, "Happy V-Day. Miss our traditions." Riley's grip tightened on the wheel, jaw set. "Delete," Aiden did, phone sailing out the window into a bramble, dramatic, cathartic. Freefall feels good. The weekend unspooled in salt-kissed bliss. Bonfires on the beach, toes buried in cold sand, Scout chasing phantom crabs. Under star-pricked skies, Riley traced constellations on Aiden's palm. "See that? Orion's belt reminds me of you." "Steady. Guiding." Aiden laughed, pulling him down to the blanket. "Sap," but the words lodged warm, a balm to old wounds. They made love slow, waves lapping rhythm, bodies sinking like pages turning. Afterward, tangled and sated, Aiden whispered, "This is what I stayed for, potential." Riley kissed his temple. We stayed. Together, back in the city, spring erupted in wild abandon. Cherry blossoms rioting pink along the Embarcadero. Farmers' markets bursting with strawberries and artisan breads. Aiden's workshop swelled, drawing a core group, Jamal, a trans poet nursing a divorce, Lena, a lesbian mom penning erotica, and Theo, a twinkish coder grappling with coming-out regrets. Sessions in the center's sunlit room fostered vulnerability. Prompts like rewrite your betrayal as empowerment yielding raw gems. Aiden mentored gently, Riley guest lecturing on visual storytelling, their partnership a model of collaborative grace. Conflict simmered when the Out magazine piece resurfaced in a viral thread. Trolls dredging it for clicks, twisting Aiden's triumph into revenge porn. Jackson called, voice edged with desperation. "They're hounding me at work. This is on you." Aiden, phone hot against his ear, fired back, "On me? You lit the match." Jax. Silence stretched. Then Jackson's sigh, defeated. "Fair. But Aiden, I saw Riley's exhibit. He's good for you. Deserve that." Click. Aiden stared at the screen, pulse racing, closure, jagged but real. The real storm hit in May, Nana Rose's would-be birthday. Aiden planned a tribute, picnic at her beloved Stowe Lake in Golden Gate Park, inviting the workshop crew. But grief ambushed him en route, tears blurring the Prius's windshield. Riley pulled over near the Japanese tea garden, holding him as sobs racked. "She'd hate seeing you like this," Riley murmured. "Proud. Yeah. But she'd say, 'Get up, boy. Life's too short for wallowing.'" Aiden nodded, wiping his face. The gathering unfolded healing. Toasts with sake, readings of her transcribed tales, spunky romances from the 40s underground scene. Jamal's poem, inspired by her fire, moved them to chills. As dusk fell, Lanterns floating on the lake like fireflies. Aiden felt her presence, not haunting, but cheering from the ether. Summer scorched in again. City baking under unseasonal heat. Aiden and Riley escaped to Big Sur. Tent pitched on Pfeiffer Beach's purple sands, where key-shaped rock arches framed the horizon like a portal. Days blurred in hikes to McWay Falls, misting cascades tumbling to turquoise pools. Nights in starlit talks, Riley revealing his own fracture, a college ex who outed him to family, fracturing bonds. "I rebuilt quiet," he said, fire crackling. "Like you." Aiden squeezed his hand. "We're architects now." Return brought opportunity. A grant from the Lambda Literary Foundation for Shadow's sequel, but Aiden pivoted to the graphic novel, Hearth Flames. Collaborating with Riley felt electric, his prose fueling Riley's panels, Nana Rose's Afghan motifs threading through. Pitches landed at Dark Horse Comics, buzz building at Comic-Con in SoCal. The trip south was a whirlwind, badges glowing, panels packed with fans geeking over queer rep. A signing line snaked long, one fan gushing, "Your story made me come out to my grandma. She hugged me, called me her hero." Aiden teared up, signing to new hearths. Back home, autumn whispered in with foghorns moaning off Alcatraz. Jackson's final act, a legal envelope, divorce papers drawn neat, alimony waived. "Take the house. It's yours." Aiden signed in the lawyer's office overlooking Market Street, pen scratching finality. Riley waited outside with Scout, ice cream cones melting in the sun. "Free," Aiden grinned, linking arms. Freer. Holidays circled again. Thanksgiving richer. Jamal's family joining Mia's spread. Laughter drowning old echoes. Aiden carved the turkey, blade steady, toasting, to hearths rebuilt. Winter's grip loosened into a mild El Niño, rains nourishing the city's green veins. New Year's on the pier this time, full circle. Fireworks exploding as Aiden kissed Riley, Scout barking joy. Resolutions unspoken. Thrive, create, love without ledger. But life, that sly fox, had one more twist. A letter from Jackson's parents, stiff stock, postmarked Sacramento. "We've read your book. Understood. Finally. Invite for tea." Aiden weighed it. Riley's input sage, "Your call. But you're not obligated to their timeline." He declined politely, archiving the envelope. Forgiveness extended, but boundaries etched in stone. The year closed on a high, hearth flames greenlit, launch party at the De Young Museum's Sculpture Garden. Guests mingled under kinetic wind sculptures, Aiden toasting collaborators, lovers, ghosts. Riley pulled him aside, ring box subtle in pocket, not proposal, but promise. "Whenever you're ready." Aiden's heart swelled, full as the bay at high tide. 2026 unfurled like a well-loved book. Pages dog-eared but cherished. Plot twists anticipated with grace. Aiden's days brimmed. Hearth Flames production meetings via Zoom with the Dark Horse team. Voice notes bouncing between coasts as Riley inked panels from his Oakland studio. Their commute became a ritual, BART rides with podcasts on queer history. Hands intertwined amid the rumble. Scout kenneled at Mia's with gourmet treats. The brownstone, once a mausoleum of memories, pulsed anew. Riley's vinyl collection stacking beside Aiden's LPs. Collaborative murals blooming on the hallway walls. Vibrant queer icons in watercolor and line. Spring's bloom coincided with the graphic novel's first arc drop. Digital previews teasing on Kickstarter. Backers poured in, over 5K in 48 hours. Perks like signed prints and virtual workshops. Aiden's inbox overflowed with thanks. A teen from rural Idaho. Your art made me brave enough to tell Mom. Fueled him. This ripple of resonance. Turning personal shrapnel into communal shield. Mia threw a launch watch party at her flat. Fairy lights strung. Vegan tacos from the truck circling. As pledges ticked live. Cheers erupted. Jamal led a toast. To Aiden, granny sitter turned guardian of stories. Jackson's orbit tightened unexpectedly. A mutual friend, Tomas from the old CrossFit crew, texted Jack's in town. Wants to grab coffee. Neutral ground? Aiden mulled. Riley's nod encouraging. They met at a neutral diner in the neutral zone. The Sunset District's greasy spoon with Formica counters and bottomless Joe. Jackson looked older. Lines etched deeper around his eyes. Suit traded for jeans and a faded Giants tee. Congrats on the book, he started, stirring sugar absently. Heard it's killing it. Aiden nodded, guarded. Thanks. Therapy sticking. Jackson's laugh was wry. Yeah. An AA. Turns out the job wasn't the only demon. Confession spilled halting. The affair with Ethan a symptom of deeper rot, childhood pressures from his folks. The facade of success masking panic. I projected onto you. The useless. That was me. Terrified of failing you. Aiden listened. Coffee cooling untouched. Hurts less now. But it shaped me. Jackson met his gaze. Proud of that shape. Riley seems solid. They parted with a hug. Awkward. Brotherly closure's final stitch. Summer sizzled with cons and signings. FlameCon in NYC, where Aiden and Riley paneled on romantic realism in queer comics. Fans queuing for dual sketches. The city thrummed different. Times Square's assault of lights a far cry from SF's intimate hum. But the love landed universal. Hugs fierce as East River winds. Back west. A curveball. Nana Rose's estate settled. A modest inheritance earmarked for the boys' dreams. Aiden funneled it into a scholarship fund at the center. Nana's hearth grants for queer caregivers pursuing art. Launch gala at the LGBT Museum drew donors in sequins and suits. Aiden emceeing with Riley's steady hand in his. She taught me love's not sacrifice, its amplification. Fall's palette turned the Presidio gold, and conflict crested subtle. Riley's ex resurfaced, a slick graphic novelist from Portland, sliding into DMs with collab? Vibes that reeked of unfinished business. Aiden spotted the notifications, jealousy flickering like a shorted wire. Talk to me, Riley urged over dinner. Pad Thai from the Thai spot on 24th Street. Steam curling. Aiden exhaled the fear. Scared you'll see greener grass. Riley's eyes softened. Grass is greener where you water it. That's us. They hashed it. Boundaries. Trust. Emerging tighter. Riley blocking the X with a decisive swipe. Vulnerability bonded them deeper. Aiden sketching a panel of two figures tending a shared garden. Weeds pulled hand in hand. Thanksgiving swelled the table. Mia's crew plus Riley's sister from Berkeley, a botanist with tales of redwood groves. Laughter layered over gratitude, Scout begging scraps underfoot. Aiden carved, blade sure, reflecting on the arc from shattered doorway to this hearth aglow. Winter whispered in with rains that greened the hills, hearth flames volume. One printing, boxes stacking in the living room like treasures. New Year's planning veered bold. A road trip down highway, one to LA for the graphic novel's West Coast reveal at an indie con. They packed the Prius Scout in the back. Playlists queued. Thermoses of chicory brew. The drive was poetry. Big Sur's cliffs plunging to indigo seas. Elephant seals bellowing on shores. Stops at roadside stands for abalone tacos. En route, Riley broached the ring again. Casual over avocado toast at a caramel cafe. No pressure. But envisioning forever. Aiden's yes was quiet. Profound vows renewed not in city hall pomp, but personal sacrament. LA dazzled in controlled chaos. Con halls buzzing with cosplayers. Panels electric. Their booth drew lines. Fans raving over the Nana-inspired arc. That ghost grandma slays. Post-event. They honeymooned impromptu at a Venice Beach Airbnb. Bungalows strung with lights. Bonfires on the sand where queer fire spinners twirled. Aiden proposed back. Rings slipped from pocket under Pacific stars. Partners in every panel? Riley's tears mirrored the waves. Yes. Ecstatic. Spring 2027 bloomed with wedding whispers. Small affair planned. Backyard of the brownstone. Rainbow arches from pride floats recycled. Mia officiating in a thrift store gown. Invites selective, no Jackson, but Tomas as bridge. The day dawned fog-lift clear. Guests in floral crowns milling with mimosas. Vows exchanged under the Afghan-draped gazebo. Aiden's. You saw my flames when I forgot the fire. Riley's. I'll ink our story. Page by endless page. Rings simple. Platinum bands etched with hearth motifs. Slid on amid cheers. Scout sporting a bow tie. Honeymoon in Hawaii deferred for work. But micro-adventures sufficed. Cabin in Tahoe for snowshoeing. Hands gloved and linked. Back home. Life layered richer, hearth flames volume. 2 scripting. Aiden guest lecturing at USF's Queer Lit course. A fan encounter at a bookstore signing pierced deep. An elder gent. Voice quavering. Your book? Read it to my partner on his deathbed. He was the sitter in our story. Thank you. Aiden hugged him. Words failing where art bridged. Summer's heatwave tested. A wildfire scare evacuating the peninsula. Prius loaded with essentials. Hearts pounding as sirens wailed. They bunked at Mia's. Watching news feeds of orange skies. Scout whining anxious. Cleared days later. The brownstone unscathed. But the scare crystallized fragility. Love's urgency. More trips, Riley decreed. Booking a fall jaunt to Napa wineries. Vines heavy with promise. Autumn harvested accolades. Hearth flames nominated for a Lambda Award. Ceremony in D.C. a whirlwind of tuxes and toasts. They flew east. Hand in hand through airports. Aiden's nerves jangling like keys. Win or not, the nod validated the useless myth pulverized. They lost to a memoir on trans joy, but clapped fierce. After-party dancing to house beats till dawn. Winter wrapped gentle. Holidays hybrid. Zoom toasts with Riley's fam. In-person feast with the workshop circle. Aiden's gift to Riley. A custom sketchpad bound in Afghan wool drew gasps. Reciprocal. A locket with Nana Rose's photo miniaturized. New Year's on the rooftop this time. City lights a sea below. Resolutions murmured. Expand the grants. Pen a kid's book on chosen kin. Life's cadence steadied. But Aiden knew. Truths crashed. But from ruins rose cathedrals of self. The rhythm of years wove tighter. Threads of joy and grit intertwining like the Golden Gate's cables. Suspended. Swaying. But unyielding. By 2028, Aiden and Riley's union was legend in their circles. The duo who turned betrayal's blueprint into a blueprint for bliss. Hearth flames sprawled to 3 volumes. Arcs delving deeper. Ellis's rebirth entangling with a new muse. Conflicts born of creative rivalries. Resolutions in communal bonfires echoing Nana Rose's tales. Fan cons became family reunions. Cosplayers channeling Ellis in flannel and fog. Riley and Aiden signing stacks till wrists ached. Aiden's solo pivot surprised even him. A middle-grade series, Rainbow Keepers. For young queer readers, adventures of a boy caring for his abuela while chasing art dreams. Villains not monsters but misconceptions. Publishers snapped it up. Illustrations by Riley a seamless fit. Launch at Books Inc. In the Marina Drew School groups, kids wide-eyed as Aiden read. Sometimes, sitting with someone means standing taller than anyone. Q and as bubbled with questions. Is the granny based on real? Aiden nodding. The realist love. Conflict-crested domestic that spring. Riley's career boomed. Offers from Marvel for a queer superhero run pulling him to LA pilots. 6 months. Aiden probed over breakfast burritos. Scout nosing for scraps. Riley's hesitation mirrored Aiden's old fears. Audition. If it sticks. Distance loomed. A specter. They talked marathons under quilts. On park benches. Crafting a pact. Monthly flybacks. Co-writing via video. No resenting roads. Riley landed it. Whoops echoing from the agency call. Aiden's pride swelled. Masking the twinge, echo of Jackson's absences. But this time, chosen. Summers alternated. Aiden solo with Scout in SF. Hikes to the headlands where wildflowers rioted. Riley's visits laced with beach bonfires. Scripts shared over IPAs. Fall brought the Lambda win for Hearth Flames volume. 3 DC Redux. Tux's sharper. Speech Aiden's. To the sitters. The stayers. Your quiet revolutions light the way. Afterglow in a Georgetown jazz club. Riley slow dancing him to standards. Whispers of proud. Winter's chill birthed a scare. Aiden's checkup flagged a lump. Benign. Thank God. But the biopsy weight a knife edge. Riley flew cross-country. Bunking the brownstone. Holding vigil with herbal teas and bad puns. Clear results flooded relief. They celebrated with a vow renewal, intimate. Just Mia and Tomas witnesses. Under the same gazebo. Rings re-exchanged. Promises amplified. Through crashes and calms. 2029 dawned with expansion. The grants fund tripled via a GoFundMe. Mia viralized. Endowing full scholarships. Aiden keynote at a national caregiver conference in Chicago. Voice carrying. We're not useless. We're the unseen architects. Back home. A legacy project. Converting Nana Rose's room into a studio apartment for visiting artists. First tenant a poet fleeing Texas bigotry. Jackson re-entered orbit tangential. A wedding invite from Tomas. His +1 a steady architect named Marco. Aiden RSVP'd yes. Riley in tow. The Castro ceremony was vibrant, vows in Spanish-English weave. Reception at a rooftop bar with bay views. Jackson approached post-ceremony. Marco's hand in his. You look radiant. Aiden smiled genuine. As do you. Marco treating you right. Laughter eased old tensions. Toast shared to second acts. No rekindling, just respect. A bridge intact. Summer's heat peaked with Rainbow Keepers tour. School visits from Seattle to San Diego. Kids gifting drawings of abuela superheroes. One boy's note pierced. My uncle's the sitter for Grandpa. He says your book makes him feel strong. Aiden framed it beside Nana Rose's photo. Fall harvested personal fruit. Riley's Marvel gig extended, but hybrid LA weeks. Seth anchors. They bought a pied terra in Silver Lake, adobe walls and citrus trees, a second hearth. Thanksgiving bridged coasts, Zoom feasts merging families. Winter whispered of more. Aiden's TEDx talk on the power of unseen labor, views exploding, invites cascading. New Year's on a big Sir Cliff, telescope trained on Perseids, resolution starry, mentor more, travel deeper, love louder. By 2030, Aiden reflected from the pier at dusk, scout gray-muzzled, Riley's arm familiar. The crash of truths had reshaped him. From granny sitter to storyteller, victim to victor. Jackson's betrayal, catalyst, not curse. Nana Rose's wisdom echoed, flames don't dim, they dance. And dance they did into horizons painted rainbow wide. In the end, love's ledger balanced not in perfection, but persistence. Aiden turned to Riley, kissing salt from lips. Our story, Riley grinned. Just beginning, the waves agreed, crashing eternal, truths risen from depths to skies unbound.